Hey everyone, this is another episode of PlayStation Pursuit. Welcome. This one I was really excited for because I was going to a store that I haven't been to in a while that's out of town, and they always have cool, obscure games for the PlayStation 1 that I don't find elsewhere. I've used them many times, and I was so excited to go back. So stick around, I will show you what I found there. Okay, so the store that I went to, and I love so much, is called Sound Go Round. It is in Binghamton, New York, and it's not just a game store. It has games, records, CDs, comics, figures, and movies. From what I can tell, now I spend most of my time in the gaming section there, what I can tell, the other sections don't have as much stuff. I know at least the music section I was disappointed with. They didn't have as much stuff in their organization. I couldn't find anything that wasn't just rock, metal, or rap in its section. It seemed like very limited supply compared to their game section. Their game section, every time I go there, gets more and more. And they, unfortunately, I think are getting people who are more aware of games, so, there's more collectible games on their glass cases and stuff, but there's still some cool stuff to find there, and even when you go away from the collectible stuff, even in their commons shelf, there are so many games, not just for PS1, but for every system. I've gotten some of my favorite, obscure, quirky little titles from $1 to $5 and up in those shelves. They have just so much stuff. I mean, you go into the store, and it's got a really cool look and layout. It's kind of this, it has a record store vibe, even outside of where there's music, and that's what I really love about it. But the supply of games there, I mean, there's games there I just don't see in Syracuse, or even when I go to Albany, I don't see as much, or Rochester or Buffalo. It's just games come into the store, and I think it's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to bringing some of my friends down there sometime to check it out, but I love the store, and just like before, I managed to find some cool obscure stuff, as well as some decent prices on some games that aren't as budget, but I've been wanting for a long time. So let's get started. I'll show you what I got. So, funny story I'll say about this one is when I saw the band Anamanaguchi, and I did a video, a pickup video recently where I showed a little bit of that in the intro. When I went there, my friend Steve and I on the car ride were talking about John Carpenter soundtracks and how we love his movies like The Thing and Escape from New York and all that. Then his synthesizer music that he does is really good and really intense, and it fits his movie so well, of course. And funny enough, I found this game. It was a budget title, or at least priced now at a budget title. I don't think it was when it first came out. And it's based on a classic PC game, I believe. And this is Sentinel Returns. And now, the funny thing about this, I played this game, or I haven't played this game yet, but it's very hard to see what kind of a game it is. I have to give it a shot, because even watching videos of it, it seems like you need to sit down with the manual, learn to play it, and it looks pretty cool. But on the back, it says, "and a haunting soundtrack provided by famed horror meister John Carpenter." And sure enough, I listened to the soundtrack on YouTube even before checking out the game, and it's awesome. So I thought that was interesting that they mentioned that on the back right when I just had been talking about it. I was like, oh my gosh, John Carpenter. I sent a text to my friend Steve. I'm like, look at this game has John Carpenter music. And of course I had to share him the music when I found it. But excited to check it out just because it looks like it's interesting, and it's based off of a popular classic that never crossed my path, so I'm excited to see that. Now, this game is another actual budget release because it has that same strip that I'm starting to see in a lot of games as I'm getting some of the cheaper titles for PS1. But this one looks really cool, and I first heard about it from, there's a YouTuber named John Hancock who has a channel, and he's been on Metal Jesus Rocks' channel too, so if you've ever seen him before, he's a really nice guy, and he's got a really big collection. But he did a video not too long ago about why collecting for PlayStation is so fun, and since I started doing PlayStation Pursuit, I'm like, yeah, I agree, let's find out what he thinks. And he talked about this game in that video, and then I found it for really cheap, so I was really happy to get it. It's called Ballerburg Castle Chaos, and it looks like a game, I don't know if you build castles, but it's like fortresses shooting cannonballs at each other and stuff and crumbling down. So it just seems really cool. It says, castles crumble to the ground in magical siege warfare. Protect your kingdom and conquer. It has a grammar error. Conquer you opponents. I love that I see that while I'm reading it. But conquer you opponents in explosive one-on-one action. So, looks really cool. The graphics look kind of neat. I mean, the castle in here, you know, it's PS1 graphics, looks like something from, like, Anne Orlando from Dark Souls or something. Well, maybe not that complex, but it reminds me of a Souls-type background. So, I don't know, just that idea of, you know, castles shooting cannons at each other just seems kind of fun. I think that seems like it'll be a pretty cool game, and I know he recommended it as one of his underrated favorites, so glad to check that one out. And then this is a Capcom game. I've never played one of the games in this series, but this is a collection of them, and it's in really good shape. Everything's in fantastic shape, actually, and it's the Buster Brothers collection. It's an arcade classic. I watched some video footage of it, and it looks like it's going to be a blast, and it has I believe 3 complete games from the arcade, and you know, great 2D graphics and everything, and the disc and everything. It's really cool. There's a lot of this red bubble effect they have and everything. I really like it. But awesome to add another Capcom game for the PS1, but it was also in fantastic shape and super cheap, so awesome. Thank you, Sound Go Round. And then this is a game I've wanted to play for a long time, and it's not too expensive. It's anywhere I've seen it. It's just I passed on it many times, and they had it here, and again, not too expensive, so I picked it up. And this one, it's a first-person shooter, kind of. You're in a vehicle, I think, but it feels like a first-person shooter in a way, and it has like shoulder button, like L1 and R1 strafing, so you know, before dual analog. But I used to love that kind of sidestepping and first-person shooters before there was dual analog control, so I'm sure I'll get akin to it pretty quickly. But the art style looks like it's something like a fantasy, almost like, not Panzer Dragoon per se, but something more of that realm. Maybe Elemental Gearbolt, even though I don't have that game yet. I have played it before, and the art style, that's awesome. And this is kind of similar. Anyway, the game is Shadow Master, and it's just a really cool fantasy first-person shooter. Been looking forward to playing it. Almost kind of reminds me of like Turok 2 in a way, but even more fantasy than that. And I know the gameplay's nothing like that, but from what I've seen. But anyway, pretty cool disc, and always wanted to play that. So I saw it, I'm like, yep, I've procrastinated in getting that, and I definitely want to get that one now. So that's the first half of what I'm going to show. I'm looking forward to showing you a few more things that I got, but let's talk about some more favorites this month. Okay, so I'm only going to talk about 2 favorites on this episode. I have one I want to show, and it's a non-traditional game. I don't even know if you'd want to call it a game. And so I want to use a little bit more time to kind of show, because you have to hear some of the stuff about it. And that game, I'm still going to call it a game because I enjoy playing it, is MTV Music Generator. So you can think, oh, that doesn't really sound like a game. And it really isn't. It's a game where you can make music. And, you know, PlayStation is CD quality sound, so it's definitely works well for this. And if you've ever played a music-making game, there is fun to be had, even if you're not usually musically inclined. So what I like about this game is there's different levels of enjoyment I've had. First of all, it's one of the most classic games on the PlayStation for me. I had so much fun with this back in the day, and still to this day, I think about all the stuff I did with this, and I'd love to pop it back in. Right off the bat, the worst thing about this game is that the limited PlayStation memory, not your memory card's memory, but the memory on the system itself, limits how many samples you can download for any one track you work on, and that irks me. Now, after playing years of this game, I found they had it on PC, and so that's one I've played many times beyond, and that one lets you do even more. So, but I still think the PS1 version is awesome to check out and get used to it, and it is compatible with the PS1 mouse, which makes it way more easy to move pieces around and everything. So, there's multiple levels to this, how this game works. You can lay down pre-made samples from a bank of probably 1,500 riffs and 3,000 instrument sounds in this game. So tons of different stuff you can put together and basically make your own electronic song, even though there are like guitar samples and stuff, so the sound doesn't necessarily have to be just electronic dance music or anything. You have a lot of variety, and that's with what's built in. So there's voice clips, there's different genres, and it's easy and fun just to lay them down and layer under stuff, or stuff underneath what you're doing, and make a song. You go, hey, I made this cool song. But for me, even though I don't play an instrument, I enjoy music, but I don't play, or I don't play anything. I haven't taken lessons or anything. But I think I know enough about music that just doing the samples wasn't enough for me. I really like going the next level in. Even though I'm not as proficient with music, there is a way to make your own riffs in the game. And so basically what it is, you go into one of the samples and you can place notes within that and make your own sample, and then laying those on the track just like the ones that are pre-made and making your own song out of that. So when I realized I could do that, then you really have more agency in what you're making. It's not just moving around music samples and everything like that. It's actually making your own songs, and I love that. And specifically in the PC version, one of the things I did was there was RPG Maker XP I played, and I was making an RPG, and I used MTV Music Generator to make the songs for my RPG. And of course that project fizzled away, but I have all the songs that I made from back then, and maybe I'll show you them in a little bit. But so there's that element in the game, and then there is a music jam mode, which is like a multiplayer freestyle kind of mode. I've never played it, I tried it, but that was not what I had enjoyment in. Maybe somebody else will have enjoyment in that, but that's not what I liked about it. And then there's one last element to the game, and that is a music video maker. Now, it's not really a video editing program or anything. It's more like a visualizer. So you, just like choosing from the samples, you can place graphics and effects on a timeline alternate to your sound timeline. So it is cool to make stuff so when you're listening to the songs you made, you got these cool sound or visuals going along with the sounds you made, and it's so fun. I mean, one of the things that I did before I really dove deep into this game, it's just fun and funny to take the samples and make random stuff. I mean, we had a group of friends of mine, I'd say like 3 or 4 of us, got together once a month maybe, and threw this game in on the PlayStation version, not the PC version, and we made songs that just we made us die. We were like, this is hilarious, because you can adjust the pitch and everything. So we slowed down some of the vocal tracks, so instead of like a yeah, it would be like yeah. And it's just so funny to hear that. And then sometimes just putting clashing instrumentation together, and you're like, oh, it sounds awful, but it was funny. And like, I don't know, that's what I love about this game, is it on the outside you're like, oh, I'm never going to use that because what am I going to make music with this? It's still kind of a game to me. It feels very gamey. And I played the sequel on PS2, and I didn't like the way they changed some of the layout of it and everything. So this one is the one I will always stand by. Manual is pretty crisp, even though I've played this game many a time. Maybe I just taught myself by playing, because sometimes it's one of those games are better to just experiment with. But obscure, different game. I don't think too many people have played it. And but I wanted to recommend it. I don't think anybody ever talks about this, so check this game out if you can. It's pretty cool. Oh, and before we move on to the next game, I might show you a few samples of songs that I made and their context for, or in the PC version of this game. But a lot of those games, I'd say half of the songs for that game came from my PlayStation version, then I just enhanced them. So you probably heard some of them in Sprite Lovers, but take a listen and just hear a few before we move on to the next game. Alright, so back in my Atlas collecting heyday, which unfortunately I've started selling my collection, a lot of those Atlas games that I sought after for a long time are getting parsed out. But I did want this one back in the day, and I never got it. And it was a PS1 game, obviously, and now I have it. And it's got one of the two collectible things that are in it. I still have to find, there's memory card stickers that aren't in it, but I feel like these things, just the fact I got one of them is a bonus, and I got it for under the value. This one is called Thousand Arms, and from what I've seen of the graphics and everything, it reminds me a lot of Grandia, which is an awesome PlayStation RPG. This is 2-disc, it has really cool artwork. The only thing that seems a little different in this one is that it has like some dating sim elements, so there's different female characters in the game that you've got to go on dates with, I guess. I haven't played it, so I don't know the extent of how deep that system is. But there's definitely multiple female characters that your male lead character has to interact with. And I'm sure there's funny dialogue and stuff like that, because this was back in a time where there was a lot of RPGs that had weird things like that, but they ended up leading to some funny situations and dialogue. There's your guy here, and he has cool artwork on the manual as well. And here is the card that's limited edition. It's a lenticular card, so pretty cool, and that's got artwork on the back. So this is an awesome looking game, and I've read some cool reviews about it and watched them. It looks like it's up my alley. Like I said, gameplay wise, the 3D world with 2D sprites kind of reminds me of Grandia. Don't know how the battle system will play out, because Grandia has its own sweet battle system, but very excited. Atlas game and RPG for PS1, those are always highly coveted, so glad to add that to my collection. And then, keeping with the RPG theme that I've just set out on, this is one of my most wanted games for a long time, and I've been waiting to find it complete and also in really good shape too. And I'd say the box is like an 8 out of 10. There's a couple dings on the corner cardboard, which with cardboard I always expect there to be some damage, and as long as there's not major dents or anything, then I'm okay with it. And I actually had a box only of it, so let me show you the game. It's Lunar Silver Star Story Complete. Now this box I have already, and see, this one's crunched and there's a sticker on it and everything, but it's still intact. And you know, if I ever get a second copy or anything, I wouldn't mind piecing it together and then maybe selling a complete one, just so, because you know, I want to give this one a home. I don't want it to be thrown in the trash. In fact, that's why my buddy Chris, he gave it to me. He works at this local store, Micro Game, and this probably would have went in the trash, but he's like, "You want this? Want to save it?" And I was like, "I'm saving it." So I saved its life, and if anybody needs a box for their copy, we could probably work something out, but if not, I'm going to put it together. But this is my copy, and pretty good. You know, you can see a few little white cardboard corner parts, but for the most part, it's in fantastic shape. It's got the plastic hanger on it still, and this has a cool little Velcro opening. It shows, I mean, it's just working designs. I just loved what they put into their stuff, and I'm glad that companies like Xseed, Atlas, and Nippon Ichi Software America put effort into some of these. And actually, even for a Western developer, I know CD Projekt Red, who did Witcher 3, they did a really good job with their box and the extras and everything, and I just love it. And I know that probably is what put these guys under, but it just looks so good. And I'm actually going to take a moment to open this up. This one doesn't have as much stuff in it as the second Lunar, which I still have to get, but it has the game with cool artwork and everything. And I have the common discs for Lunar, but that's okay, because since I'm going for a full set, you know, maybe if I can get the variants someday, that's fine, but at least I now have this game to count in the total. So you got those, and then you have this huge art book type thing. I think it's it's actually an enhanced manual, just with tons of stuff, color maps. I don't even want to open it too far because it feels like it's never been opened. So very awesome, tons of artwork and everything. Super glad to have that. Lunar, actually, this funny story about this game is that I did play quite a bit of this. I rented this a lot back in the day, and I have the Sega CD version. That was the first time I played Lunar. My sister had it, but I always wanted this one to own, because when I rented it back in the day, something about this game, I think Lunar is one of the best RPGs ever. It's got beautiful 2D graphics, a wonderful soundtrack, and the story has a little bit of tropiness to it. You know, it's an JRPG with kind of some similar characters, but the anime cutscenes, the the dialogue, it's so charming. It's just so freaking charming. I love it, and the design is good, and the battles aren't anything to blow your mind. Like, oh, this changed everything for RPGs for me. But it's solid. And it also has, this is what's cool, there's the 2 discs, and then there's a music soundtrack disc and a making of Lunar disc here too. So, I mean, they always put so much into their stuff, working designs that is. And this was one of my most wanted PS1 games. I just wanted to wait for the right time and the right price, and I definitely got it for the right price. It was well under what I see it going for online now. And I love finding games in stores rather than going online. So the fact that I found it in stores... Oh, and I'm talking about the fact that it's complete and has everything. But I'm almost forgetting the coolest part. I haven't opened this yet, actually. There is a cloth map that's just... Ooh. So awesome. It feels so cool. And look at that. That's really, really awesome. So, absolutely amazing. Love it. So glad to finally have this game. One of my most wanted for the system. And now, gotta find part 2. And that one is a little harder to find complete because there's a little jewel pendant thing and a little felt case for it, and that is the thing that's always hard to find. There's also little cardboard stand-up characters that are hard to find too, but that pendant wasn't even in every single 100% of the copies that went out, so that's always something that's hard to find, but I will find it because this is PlayStation Pursuit. So that is the sound go around pickups for this episode. Super happy to go there, and there was way more games there. I mean, obviously I wasn't going to spend a ton of money. I just wanted to get a few things while I was there, and they have plenty more there that I could have bought. So I'm going to come back in probably a couple months, try to bring some friends down so they can check out the stuff they have. Really, if you are anywhere near where Binghamton is, you know, I wouldn't say it's worth a trip from like another state, but if you're in New York State or southern or northern Pennsylvania, and you know you want to make the trek there, it's a cool store. You got to check it out. And there's other stuff in Binghamton, food and everything, so you could make a worthwhile day trip. So definitely check it out. But I guess it's that time, isn't it, where I have to total up where I'm at with games. Not too many additions since the last episode, but let me crunch the numbers in 0.0 seconds, and then I'll be back and tell you the total. Alright, the magic number for this episode is 339 PlayStation 1 games. So, I'm getting up there. It's crazy. Like, I feel like I just was at 200 and something, but now I'm well into the 300s, and really excited to see what I can get in the future. So thanks for watching, appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what I can share with you next. And I'm going to be doing some other cool stuff in terms of PS1, not just my favorites, not just the games I get. There's going to be some other cool PlayStation discussion and everything, so I'm excited to see where the series can go. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.